guys? How are you?
Good.
Good. Today we're going to be reading a book called Please Pass the Maple Syrup.
In this part of the
Has
lesson,
anybody
the
ever
teacher
eaten maple
introduces
syrup
the
before?
text that the students are going to
Yes.
read.
What do you eat maple syrup with? What do you see on the cover here?
Pancakes.
Pancakes. Does anybody eat them with anything other than waffles and pancakes? No? I like to eat it with those, those French toast sticks? And then you can kind of dip it into your syrup. Yeah. So, did you know that maple syrup is made from the sap of trees?
Yes.
Did you know that? You did, because you're geniuses and you already knew that, right? But we're going to read about how that happens, how they take something out of the trees and get it into maple syrup that we buy at the store, right? All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to be reading this book quietly and independently to ourselves. And when you get finished, you're going to be working on a written response. So I'm going to give you your written response question. I want you to glue it on the top of your paper so that you can start your written response when you're finished if you need to, okay? Take a blank paper.
Written response questions, as well as the oral comprehension questions, are predetermined, and all teachers use the same questions. They're kept on a Google Doc in Google Drive.
Christopher, pass it down.
Thank you. Take one, pass it around. After you've glued it down, you might... The paper didn't get to you guys. After you've glued it down, you might want to take a second and read the question so that you know kind of what you're looking for while you're reading. All right. So today we're doing an independent read. So you're going to be reading quietly to yourself. But I'm going to want to listen to you read. So when I put my hand in front of you, what should you do? Read a little louder so that I can hear you. Do you want to scream so that the person beside of you can hear you and so that it's messing them up? No. You want to read nice and quiet so that I can hear you, and that's all, right? All right. When you get finished reading, what should you do? You can reread the book, yes. You also have a written response question. So you could either reread the book or you could start on your written response question, okay? All right. After I've listened to you read, I'm going to be asking you some questions. So you'll just answer those again quietly so that I can hear you. Okay? All right. Here's your book for today. Please pass the maple syrup. All right, so you can start reading.
The teacher listens to each student read. As she listens, she's able to instruct on an individual level. This helps her to clarify any misconceptions the child might have and to see strengths and weaknesses of each child. As the teacher listens to the student read, she records the page number that the student read, the number of errors that the student made, and the number of self-corrects that the student made. This way, she can go back and enter the student data in the M-Class Progress Monitoring tool.
This is called the key. What about this? Right here. What's this showing me? So how do I know how much sugar? 2%. How much of it is water? Very good. Awesome. Good reading, Ashley.
The teacher listens to each student read 2 or 3 pages at this level of book. Since M-Class suggests that the students read 50 to 100 words, each page in the higher level books have about 50 words on them. So the teacher is listening to the student read between 150 and 200 words by listening to them read 3 pages. On the lower level books, the teacher may have to listen to the student read more pages in order to get an accurate reading of what the student is understanding and their accuracy.
From gravity as it flows down the tubes into the buckets. During the warm part of the day, the sap drips in a steady stream into the tubes, as if someone got things.
What is syrup made from? Why is the sap of sugar maple the one that is most often used to make maple syrup? Why is the sap of sugar maples mostly used?
Once the students are finished reading, the teacher goes back and asks oral comprehension questions to each student. When they are finished answering their oral comprehension questions, they begin on their written comprehension questions. Students are able to work at their own pace, and the teacher is able to monitor student work.
Why does the sap need help from gravity as it flows down the tubes into the big buckets?
The teacher records student scores so that she can enter them into the progress monitoring section of M-Class when she is finished.
Why is the sap of sugar maples the sap that is most often used to make maple syrup? Why does sap need help from gravity as it flows down into the tubes into the buckets?
When students are finished with their guided reading group, the teacher goes back and checks the number of words on each page that the student read. For example, if the student read pages 8 through 10, the teacher would see how many words were on page 8, 9, and 10 and record that on her sheet so that she can enter that into M-Class under the number of books or number of words read. Now we will watch a first grade
Hello,
group.
first graders. How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm so excited that I get to listen to you read again. Yay! Are you excited?
No.
Jake is really excited. Don't let him fool you.
I'm
He's
not.
super excited. Take the bunny
No,
down.
other time, never do that.
And again and again and again.
No, I'm not in there.
Alright. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to be reading a new book called Waking Up. Alright. So, look at the cover. Where do you think this story takes place, America? How did you learn it?
Because there's a picture of a farm.
And there's a picture of a farm. And what is this?
A
Eric?
maid.
A what?
Do you know what that is?
In this section, the teacher introduces the book to students.
What is the building called?
Barn.
A barn. It's called a barn. Right. So what is this? There's something out here.
Gate.
It's a gate or a fence, right? What does a fence do, Eric? How does it help the animals?
There was no meat, and the horse would get out.
Yeah, if there was no fence, then the horse would get out, right? So it keeps them in, right? All right, so we're going to read about waking up on the farm, all right? So what you're going to do is you're going to read this book to yourself. And when I put my hand in front of you, Jake, what are you going to do?
Whisper.
You're going to whisper read so that I can hear you, right? Maya, should you read really loud so your friends can hear you?
No.
No, because you don't want to distract them, right?
No.
What should you do, Eric? What should you do if you get finished with waking up? You could read it again.
Or you can pick one.
Or pick another book. So we've got a couple books that you've read before. We've got Friends. We've
Since
got
the lower level books are typically shorter than the higher level books,
and we've got
the teacher puts out several options for students to read when they're
Alright,
finished.
so you can choose one of these books to read again.
This ensures that every student is engaged with text during the guided reading group.
After I'm done listening to you read, I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? But I want you to read quietly. Just keep reading one of our books until I get to you, okay? All right, Maya.
Remember telling that book? Can you read that other book?
Yep, at the end.
Here.
All right, I'm going to start listening to Jake, okay? Everybody else is going to read quietly to themselves. All right, Jake.
The teacher listens to each student read, recording the page numbers that they read, the number of errors that they make, and the number of self-corrects.
What sound do you hear at the end of that word? Look at that word.
As the student reads, the teacher is able to instruct and clarify any misconceptions that the student might have. She's also able to identify any strengths and weaknesses in the student's reading. Unlike the fourth grade books, the teacher listens to the student read more pages in order to get a true reading of the accuracy of the student. Students are able to work at their own pace, reading the book and allowing the teacher to listen to each student read.
Chicken.
What sound do you hear at the beginning of chicken? Chicken.
After the teacher listens to each student read, she goes back and has each student do a retell of the book. Since this book is below a level F, a written response is not required, but a retell is. The teacher then asks the students 4 oral comprehension questions in the literal, critical, inference, and creative areas.